I just look at them.
Hmm?
I just look at them. That's cool. Okay. Well, we are in Lafayette, Louisiana, with a couple members of the Pine Leaf Boys, and if you could just introduce yourselves to start off the fiddle workshop.
Yep, my name's Chris Segura.
And Wilson Sawa.
And thank you so much for doing this on this wonderful, sort of cloudy Friday afternoon in July 2020. This was meant to be in person, but it's wonderful still to have this kind of opportunity to, really you guys have had a lifetime of playing. Together, cumulatively, how many years of fiddle playing, how much experience do you have playing here?
I started taking lessons when I was 4. I mean, I guess you can... I wouldn't say that I was really playing at that point, but I guess it counts, So 32 years since I've started taking lessons. Maybe more like 25, 26 years of actually really playing, but...
So basically, if I were to take up the fiddle today, that's
It's
kind
a
of
tough
that's a
instrument.
daunting
Yeah.
thing that you said in a sense, because how long am I going to be? Ray Bradbury wrote and wrote and wrote for a couple of years, and then he burned everything. If the myth is true, he burned everything and said, "Now let the real writing begin." So at what point did the real music begin?
It's been so long. I think whenever I actually started playing with other people, not just like practicing, not trying to go over what my teacher told me I needed to work on that week, but actually playing with other musicians and listening to what they were doing and reacting to that and
Taking chances.
yeah. So I guess that would be kind of more whenever I started playing with. I guess this was before Fufale was ever even thought of, but a lady named Helen Boudreaux was putting together some kids jams. I guess that was in Brobridge, and I started going to those every once in a while, and that's where I met Chris and Michael. Other people hanging around there like Jason Bajeron, Hunter Hayes was there whenever he was probably 5 or 6 years old. Jason, Kira Viator, Matt Cormier, Matt Corville. So yeah.
And then playing with other people, jamming with them, it's a little bit like playing without a net. Playing by yourself, but then suddenly you're with other people and they can hear what you're doing. And you can hear them.
Yeah.
So jam sessions are really important for fiddlers. That's my guess.
I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, fiddlers, in Cajun music there's usually only one accordion, but you can have endless fiddle players. That's kind of this unspoken rule. So you can have 5 fiddlers and 1 accordion. You can never have 2 accordions. That just won't fly.
Yeah.
Like Ray Abshire would say, it's you're out the circle. Don't bring another accordion into the jam. So fiddle players, you have one guy often playing the lead, and oftentimes it's kind of funny. If you actually are watching this, the accordion player plays, and he'll usually nod to the best fiddler in the room, and that guy gets first dibs on the solo, and so he'll play, and then all the other fiddlers expected. It's kind of unspoken, but they're expected not to play. They have to kind of second in the background. And then when the second ride comes along, that fiddler, who was just the chosen one, gets to nod to another fiddle player, and he gets to play. And so usually only the 2 best players at the jam session will get to play their ride. You know what I mean? That's what I've observed. And all the guys that are learning, they're just expected to kind of sit back there and just very quietly second or play the melody very quiet behind, but they don't get to kind of showcase. And that's when you've made it. Oh, I made it to a plateau now where the accordion player just nodded at me, and I get to play a lead now. Wow. So yeah, that's the aha moment where, okay, I've been playing a lot in my house and all that. Now I can finally get to play a lead for the accordion player, and then I get to choose the next fiddler to play.
So passing the baton.
That's exactly right. The first fiddle I ever played, I haven't played nearly as long as him. I've always been a button guy. I love the piano and the accordion. My brother one time went on eBay many years ago and bought a fiddle that was in pieces. It was all in pieces. And he glued it together and gave it to me for Christmas as a Christmas gift. Here you go, here's a fiddle. And I was like, many years before that, me and Lindsay Young were riding around in Eunice, and I heard a fiddle ride. And I said, you know something? I've come to grips that in my life, I'm never going to play the fiddle. I told him that. I remember this very well. I said, I'm never going to. I accept that. Like, I love the fiddle, but I don't understand it. It's very hard. You know, if your finger is a hair off, then you're out of tune. I said, I'm never going to play the fiddle. And then my brother gave me a fiddle. And I just started playing it. And I met a girl, and she loved fiddle music, so it was another reason. And, God, it was so hard for me to get any kind of sound out of a fiddle. And when I finally started, it took me a lot longer. I'm left-handed, for one thing. So and I play like a right-handed person. And I had a lot of things going against me, probably. But I just love playing the fiddle for a lot of reasons. It's the most soulful instrument of all. You can bend notes. You can make a fiddle cry. You can't make an accordion cry. You can make a fiddle cry. And no other instrument that I play, you can get that. You can tremolo the strings, and you can make it sound like a voice. And I love voice and singing. And even though it's a very hard instrument, it's a very powerful and beautiful instrument, and with such a history. And before the accordion ruined Cajun music, fiddles were all they had. And everyone would play twin fiddles and everything. And the Balfour brothers were known for their twin fiddles, and Dennis McGee. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than twin fiddles, and of course also a fiddle with an accordion like Amédée Ardoin and Dennis McGee. So I guess I started playing fiddle right around the age of 19 or 20. Yeah.
Okay, that's what you got, the fiddle
That he gave me. He glued together a fiddle. So.
And how old are you now?
I'm 21. I'm joking. No, I'm 38.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the biggest honor I've had for fiddle was one night, Wayne Toups. If you don't know who Wayne Toups is, just Google him. He's the most famous Cajun musician living that I know of. He was at the Blue Moon, and I think he was having a couple drinks, and he said, I want to start a new band, and I want to get, and he pointed at like Steve Riley. I want to get Steve Riley to play the guitar, and Steve's an accordion player in a second, and I happen to be standing right near Wayne. He's like, and I'm going to get you to play the fiddle in this band. I was like, okay. Sure, Wayne Toups, my hero. I would gladly play. So we started a band called Coubillon, and we a year later won the Grammy for Regional Roots. But that's my biggest honor, and I am not a very good fiddler. But just having those two guys, two of my heroes, that's when I knew that I had really achieved something to play fiddle with Wayne Toups and Steve Riley. And by all means, there are 1,000 fiddle players who probably should have done it. I just happened to be standing near Wayne that night when he was picking his soldiers to play with him, So.
Well, there's something interesting though about folks that, sometimes, so often when it comes to cultural documents or whatever, people always want to focus on that one person who is the best, and somehow that's not as interesting, because everyone has a different style.
Right.
And people have a different sense because you play the accordion, you bring that to your fiddle playing.
Right.
I mean, that informs how you play, right?
Right, absolutely.
How does that work?
Well, as an accordion player, I mean, accordion players have to really know the melody well. That's one thing that's very, very important because we're the guys who kick off the song, typically. And in this particular band, Coubillon, it's 3 accordion players, Steve Riley, myself, and Wayne Toups. So it's a funny dynamic because you have 2 guys who are playing instruments that they're not known for, and then you have Wayne in the middle who's playing an accordion. So an accordion is a very attacking, it's a very forceful instrument. So when I play fiddle, it's a lot of force, a lot of power. I'm bowing really hard. My arm, I don't have a smooth violin arm. It's just like I'm sawing down a tree. You know what I mean? That's just the accordion style because accordion is just all about muscle and pushing and pulling as hard as you can. So I never got that fine finesse that you would see most fiddlers he has, that really nice smooth arm,
Chris has a really good sustain.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Really. I don't mean to.
It probably comes with playing fiddle for how many? 34 years?
I mean, honestly, I should be way better than I am after that.
He also builds fiddles.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So how does that inform your playing?
Oh man, I guess now I'm just more aware of the little things that go into making a good instrument and making it play easily. I don't know that it really informs my playing that much, but yeah.
But as a player, he knows if the fiddle he just made is great or if it needs more work.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you know what makes a good fiddle.
Great instrument builders are always, in my experience, also great musicians. And musicians that aren't very good that build instruments, they don't really make that great instruments, in my opinion, usually because they don't play it. They don't really know what's lacking or what needs to be improved.
Yeah. The violin is such a... Everything has to be perfect, you know? If it's not... And you can't... Okay, if I build this fiddle and, you know, I have some measurements that are off by, you know... In some cases, like if you look at sort of a folk fiddle, you know, made by somebody who's not trained, some measurements might be off by a millimeter. Most people, you know, that's not a big deal, but a millimeter in violin worlds is just like insane. So, you know, how that person, you know, if they try to play that fiddle, they might saw out a tune and, you know, yeah, it sounds good. But then, you know, we try to play it, you're immediately going to know, like, okay, this is just like totally off, like nearly unplayable, you know?
And every fiddle's different.
Yeah.
Too. Like, some people try to play my fiddle and they're like, man, I just can't get it to sound right, you know? Because, like, it's so fraction of a millimeter.
Yeah, they're all different, but they're, you know, I mean, that's made by a great maker.
Right,
well,
so
Michael Doucet's son.
Mike Doucet's son built this one in 2004.
Yeah.
Before you were probably even building fiddles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. So, yeah, I mean, these two fiddles, they're going to, you know, be very similar measurement-wise, but guarantee they feel differently. But, yeah.
So when you're starting out, if I was a beginning player, what's a song that would be good for me to learn to begin with? But a song that you now still would enjoy playing.
Oh yeah. Well, the most famous song that all kids learn is J'ai passé. J'ai passé devant ta porte. I pass in front of your door. Whether it's accordion or whatever, you'll learn a fiddle. That's for some reason always a song that people learn first. And actually, it isn't really even a standard. It's just like the song, and that one in the two-step is always the back door. La Porta by Dio Menor, La Porta Maria. And they're great tunes, and we play them at dances every now and then, but for some reason they became like the song you have to learn first. And that's it, yeah. One reason why you can play them in different keys, you know, like in fiddle there's often two positions you can play it in. D position and A position. And depending on your voice, you're going to play it in that key depending on how you want to sing it. Because the accordion can play in both. The accordion can play in D position or A position. But the fiddle can actually play, of course, in any key at once, depending on how good the fiddler is, you know? So, yeah, that's one thing that makes a fiddle very very diverse, too. You can play any key you want, whereas the accordion can only play in like 2 or 3 different keys. So.
Fiddle championships. What are you thinking? I don't want to put words into your mouth.
I used to love the fiddle contest thing when I was a kid.
Why did you love it?
Just because I don't know, I just like to play in front of people, and that was a chance to like kind of play by myself, really. Yeah. But man, now if I tried to play in a contest, I would just be like.
And they're popular too. Yeah,
they are. Yeah, I would not do it these days. No way.
Because you feel.
That's the one thing that I would get really nervous.
Yeah. You feel intimidated?
Kinda, yeah.
Wow, that's.
Oh, it's extremely. I mean, I've never done a fiddle. I've done a lot of accordion competitions.
Right.
And it's all like blindfold. Nobody can see you. But man, I tell you, the audience can see you. And you're by yourself up there.
Yeah.
And every little mistake, because in Cajun music normally we make all kinds of mistakes. And nobody even notices or cares about them because that's Cajun music. The whole thing is like, you know, out of tune notes. And oh, that's authentic. Yeah, it's out of tune is what it is. But in a competition, it's like they're like grading you on every little accidental note you don't do right and everything. Is like, and Cajun music was never really meant to be graded and listened to so discreetly that, you know, every little note, because it's all about those pretty little accidental mistakes that make the music beautiful, you know. These competitions normally, though, are kind of the hotshot fiddlers. The ones I've seen is like really top game, and they're up there playing like really fast, and like these guys play all the time with 1 million gigs a week, you know. Like Jamie Beard or Joel and Cameron and these people like that, you know.
I don't remember the last contest I played, and it was probably, probably close to 20 years ago, but all that I remember is that I completely lost control of my bow hand. Like, I was bouncing like that. So, yeah, like never again.
Yeah.
I don't get nervous, And that time, man, I was just like,
I love the idea of them. Anything that encourages people to play folk music and play music together. Love that, and if you're great and you can, it's true. If you can get your wits about you and pull it off and win an award,
Right.
those kids often go on to be full-time musicians. It's just a great catapult for them.
Of course, you guys you would have been judges for the fiddle championship.
Right.
The Louisiana State Fiddle Championship.
Right, so we would have been on the other side. Those
Right,
guys,
right. And when you take that into account, you are fiddlers, and you know that they're playing within a cultural tradition.
Right.
So I mean, the kinds of things that you talked about that might be seen as in some way like a mistake. Or,
Right.
but
That's up to the judge. That's what
Right,
judge is interested.
right.
Yeah. Because me personally, I would judge more like, is he playing with soul? Is he playing? Is he playing improvisation? Is he playing interesting things that make him sound unique? Or is he just like a computer playing a fiddle? I don't want to hear a computer play the fiddle. I want to hear somebody that plays with soul, with sass, with style, something unique. He's not copying an old record from Dewey Balfour from 1960. He's got his own thing going. It's beautiful. He's got his own thing. That's what I would be grading. But the judge right next to me might be the exact opposite. He might be like,
Right.
I want to hear a computer play the fiddle.
When I listen to a fiddle player, I don't want to, if I'm listening to an album or something on the radio, I want to be able to tell who it is. And most fiddle players who, around here who I enjoy listening to, I can immediately like.
Yeah.
So, like developing your own style.
It's like a voice. Like if I hear David Greeley speak, it's like, oh, well, I know this David Greeley. And hear him play fiddle, it's like, I know this David Greeley.
Immediately, yeah.
Yeah, it's immediate, yeah. Same thing. Mitch Reed, you name all those great fiddlers. Bo Thomas, Al Berard, you know their style right away. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but also fiddle champions. I think what they do is they give young people and beginning fiddlers a place, and in a sense to play without that net, and to, in a sense, also engage in a larger community.
Yeah.
Some of them maybe not aware, or maybe not as aware that there are other people that are playing.
Yeah, and they get to meet all these other kids who are learning, and
Right.
that's a great way to meet people too. I remember when I had these little accordion competitions, same thing, all these little kids that never met each other, they're all getting together, and they're excited, because when you grow up in a small town with a bunch of rednecks who, a lot of them don't even care about the music, and you finally get to meet people who are like-minded as you, it's very exciting. I went to a school where no one cared about Cajun music. No one cared at all about that. I was this weirdo who liked Cajun music. When I finally met people my age who liked Cajun music, how exciting was that? But this is before any competitions. I just happened to really find them the hard way. Like, oh, there's a new jam session. Thank God. A new jam session would pop up in Lafayette, like in the Blue Moon or whatever. And then I'd find like-minded people. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier with social media and all that, but it's very exciting when you can find a kid who shares something that you love, It's easy to find someone who loves sports or whatever, because there's a lot of people like that, but to find someone who loves Cajun music can often be really hard, especially in a small town. So these fiddle competitions gives kids an outlet to find other like-minded people.
Yeah, I think you're right. Why don't you play something?
Sure. Well, we were thinking about doing a tune. There's an old man, when I was a kid, named Dennis McGee. He lived to be, over 100? Or very old.
He was close to 100.
Yeah. And he was just a super old man, and he played with Amadi Arwan, great old fiddler. He knew like 1,000 tunes, and he was always like, oh, I just thought of another one I used to play 80 years ago, and he'd just like start playing it. Anyway, one of the tunes we love that he plays is called Chevalet Creole, and his old band Fufale recorded this with Anna Lara singing it. What year was that? It's been some time.
2007, 8, maybe.
Wow, even farther than I thought.
Maybe 2006.
So we're doing a piece, and in this song, he's going to kick it off with a melody, and I'm going to kind of play behind him. And then we'll switch off, and he'll play behind me, and I'll play some melody. And when you've only got twin fiddles and no guitar, no other thing, it gives you a lot more freedom. We can kind of just not have to worry about a solid rhythm. We can kind of just let it flow, be natural. So. You wish. Y'all, this is Rachel. Rachel's going to be doing aerial silks on the porch. That's what that big cloth was hanging down on the porch. So. Yeah, they can't got this.
Well, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, really. I didn't watch, I closed my eyes, and there's a reason why you do what you do. It is very easy to see on so many levels why you guys do what you do. And I think that you do it. And I'm so grateful that you do what you do.
Well, it's very nice when people like you appreciate it
Yeah.
on that level. Because, you know, I mean, yeah, we often play for dancers, and sometimes they don't even ever look at the band. You know what I mean? That's a whole other facet of it.
Played two steps in a row there.
Yeah, which is great too. But during this time period, I've been doing a lot of Facebook Lives, playing fiddle,
Yeah.
and people just sit back and listen. It's no dancing right now. It's like the universe has decided that people need to take a step back and actually listen. And people are actually appreciating it more right now. They're realizing. So it means a lot to hear. You know, I don't know. It's just always great when people appreciate what you're doing. You know. So.
Well, I mean, there are so many subtle intricacies there that you can miss, but they're there. I mean, it's easy to just, I mean,
And we're creating on the spot. Like everything he's doing,
yeah.
it was not like nothing's like written in the book. You know what I mean? It's just like on the fly, like whatever your heart or your fingers are taking you just go with it. And sure, you might hit a bad note. That's one piece of advice for a young person too. Is like, look, if you hit a bad note, it doesn't matter. I hit bad notes every 2 seconds. If I'm lucky, it's probably every 1 second. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna stop playing and walk home and like just quit. Like it's okay. You're playing Cajun music. You know,
Work your way around
have fun with it. Yeah.
Figure out a way to make that note work.
Figure out a way to make it work. Figure out a way to make money by making bad notes. You know.
So yeah, I mean you're
and take
taking-
notes, you know, because your brain's constantly adjusting. One thing about playing the fiddle is that in the key of D, for example, a big part of Cajun fiddle is droning. Droning is when you're playing a string below it. So if I'm playing like this, I know I'm in tune because I got this other string, which if it's in tune, I can tell. Now if I'm doing this, that doesn't sound right. So your brain is constantly making these micro adjustments, even though you didn't realize it. Like the brain is like, okay, you're a little bit flat, so next time you hit that note, just make it a hair. And you don't know it, but your brain. So when you play a brand new fiddle, you might be off for a few minutes, and then after about a minute or two, your brain has recalibrated, and now you know how to play it in tune. It's just phenomenal how it works, you know. Yeah, it's not like we have great target practice and our fingers always hit right, but we can slide into that note and find the note that we want, and it's soulful. You know, like you can slide all over the place, and that's what makes Cajun fiddle playing so beautiful. Bluegrass, old time, they have that same kind of soulful, crying, sliding sound to it.
What's one of your favorite fiddle tunes to play?
Fiddle tunes? You want to do a little two-step?
Yeah.
Do you do Happy One Step? Or McGee One Step? Or Joie de Vivre? Joie de... Real de Joie?
What about? Let's do the McGee's one step.
Or Adieu Rosa? Or...
The one step,
McGee
yeah.
One Step? Bum, bum, ba, ba, da, ba, da, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a great one. One night I was at Augusta when I was learning Cajun music. I was brought up there to teach accordion, and but I was learning fiddle, and I had so much fun playing fiddle. And they had these jam sessions. This is up in West Virginia, and they had these jam sessions that would start like at 10 o'clock at night and go until sunrise. And I would not go to sleep at all. I'd just stay up all night long. And this one tune we're about to play for you, we stayed up and played this one song for like hours and never stopped, and they kept playing it and playing it and playing it. Everyone was like jumping around and laughing and playing this tune and just like being ridiculous with it and having so much fun. And it's just a fun little, it has a very Irish sound to it. It's like very Celtic because it comes from, I think it actually comes from that part of the world. Dennis McGee played a lot of tunes. McGee, of course, is like an Irish name. Played a lot of tunes that we had later found out have roots in the Celtic communities. So the McGee One Step.
Yeah.
You want to kick it off?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
was like, man, because you're like riding a horse, and then it just stops, and you just fly off the horse, you know? Yeah. Anyway, that's a fun one. And I think it comes from an old tune, it's like, dance all night with a bottle in your hand, a bottle in your hand, a bottle in your hand. I think that's like maybe the original origins of that tune. So
if you had to give one, if you could give one piece of advice to a fiddler, it was a beginning fiddler or an accomplished fiddler, but you wanted to tell them a piece of advice about Cajun fiddling, what would it be?
Drone. The easiest thing to do that most fiddlers do, which I like it, I know he likes it, is you tune your fiddle to the accordion. If the accordion's in the key of C, you're going to tune your fiddle down to the key of C. Not all fiddlers do this. Some fiddlers keep their fiddle tuned, and that's great. They're great fiddlers. But a lot of fiddlers like the sound, and so you tune the third string to the key of the accordion, for example. And then if he picks up another accordion, you tune it back to the accordion. That to me would be the advice that I really love to tell young people, that they can tune their fiddle differently depending on what accordion they're playing with. And it's a lot more fun. And then always find a drone note, because all Cajun music is almost like the bagpipe. You always want to have another note. Like, we're not just playing, oftentimes we're not just doing, like a... Instead, we're droning another note behind it. You always have another fiddle, and then it sounds like two violins are playing at the same time. So drone, which is a great way to keep in tune with yourself, and tune your fiddle to the accordion. That's what my advice would be.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of look at it both ways. That's sort of my preference. That's what I've kind of grown up doing. But it can definitely be a bit of a crutch.
It can be.
Like,
right.
It has become that for me. Like, I'm not as comfortable if I'm tuned up playing with a C accordion. I can make my way through, no problem, but I would rather be tuned down, So it can definitely be a crutch. So it's like,
but you should learn a position anyway.
Yeah, right.
So you have the option, like, yeah, I'd rather tune down, but yeah, you should know how to play in C position, which
on a standard tempo.
On a standard, yeah, C position, standard as opposed to D position, C position. You should learn those keys. Now, Drew, he owns all these crazy accordions like C sharp and E flat and F sharp.
Yeah.
Like no fiddle player.
I'm always going to tune to
except for
those,
Daniel
yeah.
Gale is ever going to try to play in those keys. We're always going to tune our fiddle to those crazy keys, because I don't know except for Kevin Wimmer, maybe he can actually play in C sharp and
Kevin, Bo,
yeah, right.
Those guys. But
so yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess one of the things I always tell people who are just kind of starting out, like, play along with the CD. If you're streaming, like, play along with a recording. That's what I did a lot growing up, because we lived in Berwick, which, it was sort of a musical wasteland. There wasn't much going on there. So if I was going to play, it was either by myself or with an album. And I think that really helped, like, just picking a random album and playing along with it, and playing with different fiddle players, and kind of hearing what different people are doing, how they're approaching songs, and that definitely helped me out a lot. And I think the other thing is, like, yeah, learn melodies, but focus on your seconding and backing up. Like, I could do without playing an entire gig, or I could do playing an entire gig without playing a melody. I love seconding that much. So, getting a really good feel for, like, who you're playing with, how they play, and, like, figuring out a way to second that kind of complements them, Yeah.
Last question, and then if you could just play one more song, because I can't resist having you play again. Just, when Gene Siskel was asked what his favorite movie was, he said Saturday Night Fever. Just on a purely visceral level. Just his visceral feeling when he watched it was it drew him in. Your favorite fiddler?
For me, is Michael Doucet. If I just had to pick like one off the top of my head, I grew up listening to Michael Doucet's music. I love his fiddle playing because it's raw, and it's bluesy, and it's rock and roll, and it's like so much wrapped into one. And He has such a spirit when he plays, and he's never holding back. I just love the soulful, wild man fiddle playing, and that's what he played with my parents for my entire childhood. That's what I grew up listening to, and I just think, to me, that's what I love. A lot of other fiddle players, don't get me wrong, but if I had to choose one, that's to me the one that really has resonated most with me.
I would agree with that. It's tough for me to really narrow it down. I would definitely say Michael's, up there. Mitch Reed for sure, has been a huge influence. But even some of course Dennis, but Lionel Lolo, man, he was fabulous. An awesome player, awesome fiddle maker. So many people, and another one of those guys. If you're hearing Michael play, if you're hearing Mitch and David. Grew up watching David. Seems like every other night too, but Lionel, man, he had such a signature style. He's been gone now for probably.
I love that Jateo Ball that he recorded. Yeah,
it's so good. I mean,
that's not in the book.
No, it's not. But yeah, he's another one who you just know it's him. So, and nobody can. Well, Bo can probably replicate Lionel's style.
Yeah. There's so many, my God. But yeah, to narrow down to one is hard. But,
yeah.
But like you said, the visceral, just picking one, just going with your gut.
Yeah.
That's what I would choose.
Yeah.
But the next second would be Dewey Balfa. I love his singing, his fiddle playing. I mean, I shouldn't even say second because Dewey is considered the godfather of all Cajun fiddle playing, and everyone knows that. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. This has been fun. Should we do one more?
Yeah.
What you want to do? Anything that comes to mind?
I had one and I lost it. How about down there, boss?
Oh, that'd be great. You want to do it in G? In this position here? The reason I like it in G because you can do that, yeah, for the A, yeah. All right, cool. So this is a great one. It's called La Dernière Valse, which means the last waltz. And this is by Aldous Roger and his band. A lot of times the Cajun band will play this as the last waltz of the night.
Yeah.
Last waltz. And the words are just easy. It's hey, baby.
Why don't you sing it?
I can sing it, yeah. To my dear.
Get through if you want.
Oh, baby, c'est pas juste moi. And it's a unique song because it has 4 chords in it, not just 3 chords. It's got 4 chords. It's got a 2 chord in it. So here we go. Get ready for a new chord, ladies and gentlemen. You haven't heard before. All right. Play verse or?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, my lady.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. The pleasure's all ours.
It's fun.
That's great. We should make a record, just twin fiddles.
Can do that
Yeah.
right now. Put a mic up.
There you go. What we just did. We're still the audio from this and make a record. Yeah. That's great. Well, I hope you got what y'all needed.